This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Good morning, North America. Good afternoon, Europe, and good evening to everyone joining us from India. This is US Election Watch. I'm Alistair D'Souza in Washington, D.C. The headlines. Harris says if she wins, her turn in the White House will not be a continuation of Biden's presidency. In a fiery Fox News interview, Harris slams Trump over his enemy within comment. Early voting underway in key swing state North Carolina. This after another swing state, Georgia, began early in-person voting earlier this week. Georgia has seen record numbers. And Harris campaigns today across the key battleground state of Wisconsin as Republican nominee Trump delivers remarks at a New York City dinner. We begin with an updated CNN poll that looks at national polling averages. Things remain in a dead heat. The latest national polling average shows Kamala Harris with the support of 50% of likely voters, while former President Donald Trump holds 49%. Out of the 5 sets of surveys included, 2 give Harris a slight lead, while the other 3 show a near toss-up between the candidates. Meanwhile, over 100 Republicans have joined Harris in Bucks County as they voice support for Harris in her campaign to become president. Now, a fired-up Kamala Harris in her first ever interview with Fox News. Harris sat down for the most adversarial interview for her campaign. She locked horns with the Fox News host over the border, President Biden's mental fitness, and whether former President Trump is a threat to American democracy. NDTV's Vishal Vivek has more.
He's unstable, Bret.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable?
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this.
In a heated Fox News interview, Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris repeatedly attacked her Republican rival Donald Trump, calling him unstable and questioning whether the former president is fit to run for the White House. Harris also said that her presidency will differ from Biden's, seeking to deflect criticism over the administration's handling of the border crisis and other pressing matters.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership.
Soon after Harris's first ever interview with the conservative-leaning network, Trump lashed out at Harris, saying that she has a case of Trump derangement syndrome and that her cognitive ability must be tested. Earlier, Trump also sat down with Fox News in a pre-recorded town hall with an all-female audience where the conversation turned to vitro fertilization, or IVF, a fertility treatment that Democrats say is threatened by his policies. It was a challenging topic as women have been turned off by Trump's statements on reproductive rights. Harris's interview with Fox News is the latest indication that Democrats are seriously considering appearances on a network filled with supporters of Trump. Since the party's convention in August, roughly twice as many Democrats have been on Fox than during the same period in President Joe Biden's 2020 campaign. On the other hand, Trump has not shown too much interest in Fox appearances, saying it all just averages out into nothing and that Fox News has totally lost its way. With Vishal Vivek, Arjun Samar Mahindran for NDTV World.
Let's get you more on the story. We are joined by Abraham George. He is chairman with the Republican Party of Texas. Also with us is Amy Dacey. She is former Democrat National Committee CEO. And also joining us is American political analyst and also author David K. Johnston. Now, Abraham, let me first come to you. What do you think about the interview? Lots of talking over each other, as you saw between the host and Vice President Harris. Some saying that it turned into more of a debate than an interview. Harris was clearly fired up. This was Harris's first interview inside, let's say, enemy territory. How do you think Harris did?
Well, it was a train wreck. I mean, if you take a look at the social media today, most of the high topics are about Harris's train wreck from last night. And honestly, she was not able to answer a single question directly. I mean, she said she's not going to be the Biden administration while she's the sitting vice president of the same administration. So if she wants to fix the border, she could do that today. She wants to fix the economy, she could go and fix it today, but she would not consider doing any of that because she cannot distance herself away from the Biden's policies because those are her policies. And she has this Marxist ideology that she's been pushing on the United States.
Amy, I'm sure you're dying to jump in there. A train wreck? I'm sure you're not going to say that.
Well, it certainly wasn't a train wreck. I mean, I think you just saw an interview where, again, you saw the vice president being able to answer tough questions while certainly a male correspondent talked over her. And the bottom line is she has done a lot on immigration. And the obstacle from immigration was literally the former president who side-railed a bipartisan, bill that could have really moved things forward in this area. He's more concerned about political wins than he is about people and moving things forward. I think she did a great job last night. I think she laid out specifically what she plans to do, and even President Biden made it very clear that, he definitely didn't represent, the Obama administration. You move on as vice president. If Mike Pence won the nomination and moved forward, it wouldn't have been Trump, 2.0. So I think she did a great job. I think she reached some voters that she could really sway in this election.
David, I'm going to come to you in just a moment, but Amy, I do have something to ask you here. Who do you think Harris was really targeting when she did this interview? This was really an opportunity for Harris to present a point of view that most Fox News viewers don't hear. Some say that she was speaking to a Republican women voters, especially those who had supported Republican presidential hopeful Nikki Haley in the primaries. Haley, of course, seen as a more moderate rather. What would you say? Who was the target audience?
Well, I think definitely that the Trump-Vance ticket has failed, on women's issues outright. And I think this ability to go to Republican women and talk about, issues like abortion, the economy, things that they can connect with, was definitely one of those audiences that she was trying to reach and was willing to go on Fox to talk to and say that she has a place, on, voting for her in this election.
David, as a neutral voice here on the panel, what did you think? What did you make of Harris's interview? And also, who do you think was her target audience? Did she achieve what she was setting out to do?
Well, Harris was handed a whole lot of very loaded questions by Bret Baier, who's very much a partisan. He's part of Fox News. Her experience, her 18 years as a courtroom prosecutor showed in how she parried with him. She didn't make a single error, and that's one of the most important things when you go into a hostile questioning situation. She didn't say anything that's going to be useful to her opponent in the race. And she repeatedly pointed out that she has specific plans, whereas he has vague promises or concepts of a plan. And I do think much of her effort was aimed at reaching out to women who watch Fox News, because this issue of the Supreme Court taking away a right for the first time in American history has clearly resonated. And in states that are historically very Republican, voters, when given the opportunity, have turned out in favor of women deciding about their own medical care, not the government.
Right. Now, Abraham, Trump has canceled a CNBC interview. He has refused to do a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris, which Kamala Harris has done. It's been a tradition for decades for presidential candidates. If the worry really is that these interviews may be potentially hostile, Trump is not usually the type of person who is, really shies away from confrontation. So trying to understand here, what's really holding him back from, like Harris, taking on more such interviews, going into that so-called hostile territory?
Hey, talk about hostile. He was in Bloomberg yesterday and talked about economy and immigration and things like that. Harris came to Fox News just because she knows she's losing this campaign. The only reason to go to the other side to get some people on your side is when your own side is not on with you. So Black Americans are not supporting the Democrat candidate anymore. Latino Americans are not supporting the Democrat candidate anymore. Indian Americans are not supporting the Democrat candidate anymore. So now they have to figure out, what are we going to do? And this is the Hail Mary at the last minute, come to Fox News. And unfortunately, she did a horrible job. She did not answer a single question. I had to disagree with my colleagues on the screen now, because she did not answer a single question directly to Bret. She asked about, hey, how are you going to be different? She didn't have an answer. How are you going to change the policies of Biden administration? She didn't have an answer. So none of this helped her. I don't think the women, the suburban women, is what that's what she was targeting. She did not make a dent. In fact, they finally saw who she really is, who cannot put together 5 sentences for a specific policy. She couldn't talk about any. In fact, her handlers had to stop the interview early, and Bret publicly said this. They were waving and stopping the interview before he could answer.
Okay.
He could ask any questions to Vice President Harris.
Well, from what I understood was they were trying to get him to wrap up quicker than what he thought the time allotted was. Now, David, I know you have to go, so I'm going to get this last question to you here on the Fox interview. In that interview, we saw several messages from Harris. She leaned heavily on immigration, but I'm wondering here if this was really to target those female Republican voters, then why not talk abortion? We didn't really see that come through.
Well, first of all, the questions determine what's going to happen in the interview. And it was the Fox producers who shut down the interview, which tells you what they thought about how well it was going. Given the opportunity in a question, she's very clear in her position about this, that women should decide, not the government, about their health care. And Donald has the problem that he's bragged that it's because of him that the Roe decision in America was overturned. He's trying to disown that. She's working very hard to make sure it sticks to him. And she just didn't have the opportunity to deeply go into that matter because of the questions Bret Baier chose to ask.
All right, David, thank you very much for your time. We're going to let you go because I know you need to, but we still have Abraham and Amy with us. We're going to come back to you, Amy and Abraham, but let's just get a quick look at what's happening in the Middle East. The latest there, Israel says it's checking the possibility that it killed Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar in Gaza. This happening in the last hour or so. However, Israel also saying that nothing is yet confirmed. Now, Sinwar is said to be a key figure in planning that horrific October seventh attack on Israel last year. Meanwhile, worries continue about an imminent attack by Israel on Iran. Iran has long backed Hezbollah in Lebanon and strengthened groups like Hamas in Gaza. Now, it's not very often that foreign policy tops the list of priorities for US voters, but Israel's year-long war in Gaza, as well as its intense bombing campaign in Lebanon, has meant it's an issue that cannot be ignored, especially for Muslim and Arab voters and Jewish voters alike. Let's take a closer look at all of this and how it's likely to impact the US presidential race. With us, of course, Abraham George. He is a chair with the Republican Party of Texas. Also with us is Amy Dacey. She is former Democratic National Committee CEO. And also joining us now is Rishi Iyengar. He is a staff writer at Foreign Policy magazine. Rishi, I need to ask you about what's happening right now in Israel. Israel looking at as to whether they've managed to kill Sinwar. What are you hearing on this front?
Yeah, it's obviously a very rapidly developing situation, and there's a lot of unknowns. But should this be the case, it'll obviously be a seismic development in the course of this conflict. We've seen things are literally changing day to day, even hour to hour. And it'll determine a lot about the Israeli response going forward. All the things you just mentioned, the conflict with Iran and with Hezbollah.
How, Rishi?
And also the US for that matter.
How exactly is it going to change the dynamic?
It's hard to say, but we were talking earlier about sort of the possibility of an escalating Israel-Iran conflict. Now that if this has come to pass and Sinwar is in fact it has in fact been killed, it kind of accomplishes, in some sense, one of the key goals of Israel's offensive in Gaza, which is to take out the senior leadership of Hamas. So I think the thing to watch out for is what comes next, who comes next, with regards to the Hamas leadership, and also how Israel responds going forward, whether they further escalate or whether something changes on that front in the conversation with the US as well.
All right. Amy Abraham, I'm going to get you to jump in shortly, but Rishi, we've been hearing for days now of an imminent attack by Israel on Iran. When is, of course, the big question, and the bigger question, will it come before November 5th or after Election Day? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's again hard to telegraph exactly what Israel is thinking in terms of, they've said it'll be swift and surprising, and so but there is a sense that they want to retaliate sooner rather than later, and it could well be before the election. But Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu also was quoted as saying recently that they will focus on, if they do so, they will focus on Iranian military targets, which is more limited than the initial conversation. And so I think the how and what of this retaliation is as important as the when, but the when, of course, matters and will have a significant impact.
It certainly does. Amy, what kind of a scenario are we looking at if this happens, say, before the election? The Middle East will be fresh in people's minds in a swing state, for example, like Michigan, where every vote matters. How would this play out? Because Michigan, of course, is one of the largest Muslim populations, has one of the largest Muslim populations in the country. And 4 years ago, Biden won Michigan thanks to strong support from American Arab voters and, of course, Muslim voters there.
Yes, well, this has obviously been an evolving situation. And as we hit the 1 year mark recently in October, things are changing and evolving as we move along. I think that the Biden administration has been very clear about their position on this and as they're moving forward. And again, I think that Vice President Harris has been very specific, especially in as recent as the September debate, saying she's for a two-state solution, safety for both Palestinians and Israelis to rebuild Gaza, and that Palestinians have security and self-determination and the dignity they deserve. So as we move forward, she's reached out to members of the community to talk to them, both in the Israeli community and the Palestinian community here in the United States. She's made those efforts to go to Michigan. And, I think her experience in the Senate and foreign policy as somebody met with world leaders and whatnot, she'll bring that expertise. But this is evolving, and I think that I'm not going to get ahead of the Biden administration as they navigate this challenging situation in the Middle East.
Abraham, you've been very patient. A quick 30-second wrap before we move on.
Well, I'll be honest with you. If President Biden was in White House today, this wouldn't be happening, and American people know that. Muslim Americans understand one thing for sure: they do not want a war in the Middle East, and regardless of who is starting it, who is conducting it, it is bad for the region. It's bad for their families back home. And so they do not want a war. And if President Biden wanted to show some strength, he should have been doing that months ago, maybe a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, they don't have that. And that's one of the things that's going to be on the ballot in November here in the United States. Who can be a strong leader for the world? And President Trump is going to do that.
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Abraham, Rishi, and Amy, thank you very much for your time here on US Election Watch here on NDTV. In other news now, in Georgia, another ruling on hand counting of ballots. This one follows a ruling on Tuesday from the same court, but in a separate case. Another judge, Thomas Cox, has also overturned controversial changes to the state's election rules made by a Republican-controlled board. This marks the latest defeat for allies of Donald Trump, who have been trying to influence how votes are counted in the upcoming November 5th U.S. presidential election. Besides the hand counting of ballots, Judge Thomas Cox also struck down several others. Some of them include expanding and monitoring of the ballot drop boxes, requiring new identification for delivering absentee ballots, and providing expanded access for poll watchers. Now, after weeks of avoiding the topic, Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance made it clear that he believes Donald Trump did not lose the 2020 election. Speaking at a campaign event in Pennsylvania, Vance was asked again if Trump lost to President Joe Biden. He responded saying, "I've answered this question a million times. No, I think there will be serious problems, or there were serious problems in 2020. Meanwhile, Trump continues to falsely claim that he lost the 2020 election due to extensive voter fraud, a view shared by millions of his supporters. And finally, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, who recently turned 100, said that he is more focused on voting for Kamala Harris than celebrating his milestone birthday. Carter dismissed his birthday as just another day and emphasized that his priority is supporting Harris. He is the oldest living ex-president who served from 1977 to 1981. That's it for US Election Watch. I'm Alistair D'Souza in Washington, D.C.
Some people think life slows down in your 50s, but I'm just getting started. And I don't want my lot to have to worry about funeral costs. Let them spend their money on nicer things. So I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. They're the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period. Unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years, with Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one. And you're covered for the whole of your life. Unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call. Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either.
Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0800 470 4474 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
At Tesco Mobile, our deals are so good you'll want to tell everyone. Oops. Get the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE with Buds FE for just £27.99 a month with club card prices, saving you a whopping £306. And that price is frozen for your whole contract. Join the customers who saved £9.5 million with frozen prices last year. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
You could lock in a fixed energy deal now and take the power back. Switch and save at uswitch.com. Make this Diwali royal with Royal Sweets. Enjoy authentic traditional sweets with your family. Order online at royalsweets.co.uk.
Sadly, animal cruelty has reached an appalling high. It's the worst animal rescue emergency in our recent history, and we urgently need your help. The RSPCA is the only charity in England and Wales dedicated to animals of every kind. Without us, those facing serious abuse and neglect would simply not be saved. Like you, we can't bear to think of them suffering. That's why, despite the high numbers, we must reach them before it's too late. If you can help us carry on this vital work with a monthly gift, please call or text the number on screen now. Anything you can give would help so much. It'll help us answer more calls. It'll help us rescue more animals in danger and help provide them with the urgent medical treatment, food and loving care they need. I promise we will never give up trying to save every animal we can, but we need your help now more than ever. I can assure you, your gift will help save animals' lives every day. Please call 0800 234 6025, text SAVE to 78866, or visit our website to start your monthly donation today. Thank you.
Deep in the lush forests of the highest mountain range lives a truly unique species whose two favourite things in the whole world are munching on bamboo and playing bingo online at pandabingo.com, because pandabingo.com is bursting with brilliant bingo games, including 75-ball bingo and 90-ball bingo. It's absolute pandemonium. So, how do you get involved, I hear you ask? The answer is pretty black and white. Visit pandabingo.com.
This is the MSF hospital you can help build. This is the equipment you can help buy in the hospital you can help build. This is the doctor you can help train using the equipment you can help buy in the hospital you can help build. This is the medicine you can help supply, given by the doctor you can help train using the equipment you can help buy in the hospital you can help build. These are the patients you help survive, treated with the medicine you help supply, given by the doctor you help train, using the equipment you help buy in the hospital you can help build. These are the lives you help rebuild, the patients you help survive, treated with the medicine you help supply, given by the doctor you help train, using the equipment you help buy in the hospital you can help build. This is help that lasts. With regular donations, you help us provide long-term medical care. Please donate £10 a month by searching MSF Now. That's MSF Now.
At Tesco Mobile, our deals are so good you'll want to tell everyone. Oops. Get the Samsung Galaxy S24 with advanced AI for just £31.99 a month with club card prices, saving you a massive £306. And that price is frozen for your whole contract. Join the customers who saved £9.5 million with frozen prices last year. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
This baby bear is terrified, torn from her mother's paws at a tender age. They will force her to live alone in a tiny, filthy cage, like so many bears driven mad by loneliness, rubbing their wounds raw against the bars, suffering cruelly day after day, year after year, just for people's entertainment. Four Paws found little Potap crammed into a tiny, squalid cage. He'd been there for almost 9 years, lonely and isolated. There are so many more young bears who need your help. Please call 0800 038 0455 or text CUB3 to 78866 and give £2 a month to help rescue them. Every month, your £2 could help us free more bears, help give bears the veterinary care they need, and help them live happy, healthy lives in the freedom of our natural sanctuaries. Call 0800 038 0455 or text CUB3 to 78866 and give £2 a month and help Four Paws free bears from agonizing torture. Please, don't leave these bears to suffer for a single day more.
Back up its serious claims, thus escalating the diplomatic tension. Amidst this row, India has criticized Trudeau for his handling of the situation, suggesting that his actions are motivated by domestic politics rather than factual bias, straining the already tense ties between India and Canada. Next up on the program, another 15 flights at least have received bomb threats today, throwing Indian civil aviation into an even greater crisis. There have been approximately 35 such threats over the last 3 odd days, with the government saying that pranksters are at work. Now, some media are reporting that VPN addresses have been traced back to London and to Germany. If that is the case, are these just ordinary pranksters? And at 9:30 p.m, dialogues with Sonia Singh, the Atmanirbharta in India model in defense manufacturing. What do some of the world's leading defense company CEOs have to say? That's coming up at 1:30. First, a quick look at the headlines that we are tracking. Two have been accused linked to the Bahraich case, shootout in an encounter. The UP police claim the accused were planning to flee to Nepal. The opposition alleges that